Wait, what the heck? What is this? I'm sure you're wondering why that I got this voice, because I'm using text-speech on CapCut. I did not update it for the next 20 weeks, dude. I charged it, but why? Dude, this chem future is goat. I'm not using text-speech anymore in this video.
Pod's biggest sale in history has been extended. Save up to 30% until June 9th and see why Pods is America's #1 container moving company.
Hello everyone. Certainly you've noticed the appearance of the third and fourth phases in Incredibox. It's widely known that the official version only includes 2 phases, so where did these additional ones come from? This mystery is precisely what I want to discuss in today's video. I've developed an intriguing theory that these added phases might represent parallel realities, where the fate of certain Sprunks was even darker, and their suffering more intense. In this video, I'll explore my thoughts on how each one could have met a tragic and eerie end. Let's start with the case of Orin. Orin's fate was a grisly one, as he was brutally attacked and torn apart by Wenda. He had no enemies, and no one but Wenda had a reason to harm him. It seems Wenda lost her sanity entirely, turning on several other characters in her madness. This violent turn is why we see ominous traces of blood around her lips and a wild, unsettling look in her eyes. In the third and fourth phases, Orin's face appears severely disfigured, almost as if Wenda clawed at it with a frenzied vengeance. Ratty's end came next, and it was just as horrifying. He was driven to hang himself. Tormented by obsessive, disturbing thoughts that Wenda had insidiously planted in his mind, she convinced him he was worthless, pushing him to the brink of despair. It's likely that Wenda's manipulation led him to lose his sanity. After his tragic hanging, Wenda returned to find him, tearing away his skin in a furious frenzy and gouging out his eyes in a fit of terrifying rage. Next, Kluker met his tragic fate. Known for his interest in construction, Kluker's death seems to have been a tragic accident. He was likely working on a building project in the city when something heavy fell from above, striking him and causing a severe skull fracture. While he might have had a chance at survival, the situation grew worse as rescuers attempted to intervene. Unfortunately, another heavy object fell, crushing his head completely. This brutal accident left no hope for recovery. Then we have Funbot, who likely witnessed many of his friends either panicking, dying, or falling into despair. Frightened and deeply affected, he may have even started to sink into depression. By the third phase, Funbot's mouth begins to resemble Black's face, hinting that Black may have tried to sway him. But Funbot likely resisted this dark influence and chose a different path, shutting down for good. This decision to avoid further suffering becomes evident in the fourth phase, where Funbot appears entirely inactive. For Veneria, her demise was even more disturbing, and the sprout growing on her head began to root into her skull, drawing nutrients directly from her blood and hair. Over time, the sprout grew larger and more invasive, eventually consuming her body from within. This transformation devastated her physically until only her head remained, a chilling reminder of her former self. An alternate theory suggests Gray's fate. Initially, Gray might have survived by remaining in hiding, cleverly avoiding detection. His fear seems to have acted as a survival instinct, which kept him safe for a time. However, Wenda eventually discovered his hiding spot. She picked up a wooden stick and struck him on the head, inflicting severe injuries. Though Gray survived the initial blow, the injuries he sustained were extensive, leaving him vulnerable. Lastly, there's Brood's strange encounter with Simon. It's confirmed that Simon attacked Brood, biting him, but oddly, Brood didn't feel any pain and managed to survive. Seeing Brood unharmed, Simon bit him again, this time on the body. But even after the second attack, Brood continued to live, baffling Simon. Realizing that he couldn't end Brood's life, Simon ultimately left him, unable to understand why his bites had no effect. Garnold faced a brutal end at Wenda's hands. In a violent frenzy, Wenda ripped off his robotic glasses, and went to fatal neck injury, and his seeding dark thoughts. She developed a sudden and insatiable thirst for blood. By the third phase, she had completely lost her sanity, becoming uncontrollable and ultimately useless to Black and Jevin. Seeking a solution, they sent Mustard from the Colorbox Mafia to deal with her, and someone from the Mafia ultimately ended her life. Pinky, known for her kindness, found herself in a dangerous situation because she likely knew information that she wasn't supposed to. Wenda or Black, sensing the threat, threatened her and went as far as stripping the skin from her face to silence her. Finally, they took her life to ensure she couldn't reveal any secrets. Jevin's story is complex. He is confirmed to be a cultist, and though he managed to survive, his role remains mysterious. It's unclear if he personally inflicted harm on others, but as time passed, he seemed to sink further into something dark and sinister. The toll of this involvement changed his appearance, adding an even more mysterious quality to his character. So there you have it, the fate of each Sprunk laid out in detail. What do you think? Is it possible that there really exists a
For just $9.99, try Domino's new Parmesan Stuffed Crust Pizza when you carry out.
Thank you for subscribing.